My TV was just not having it. All right, welcome anybody who's watching the live stream of Z Trigger from Z Trigger here, and we're going to be doing our podcast recordings tonight, so thank you for joining us. If you got any interesting questions you want to ask, go ahead and pop them in the chat. I'm going to add a note to the chat about asking questions.
No!
And Brandon, you can share the live stream link if you are ready. All right, Brandon, whenever you are ready, we can get this get the Expanded Universe show going.
Okay.
It's ready?
Mm-hmm.
Good evening and welcome to the Z Trigger Expanded Universe podcast. My name is William Hill.
I'm Brandon Harris.
I'm nobody. No, I'm Trent.
A reviewer has no name.
No, just take me back to the days
a man with no name.
Take me back to the days when we were playing Halo and we would get killed by nobody.
Yes. So
now that's not like GoldenEye where you can win the award for the Lemming Award in multiplayer for killing yourself.
You know, as many of these James Bond novels I've read, I keep wondering if I'll buy the John Gardner adaptation of GoldenEye to read someday. I'd have to find it, I guess. He wrote several, so.
I recently got Diamonds Are Forever, which is known as like the worst of the Fleming books.
I did not hate it. I kind of liked
okay.
it. I didn't like it as much as Moonraker, but I really like Moonraker, so.
I haven't read Moonraker yet. I've only read Live and Let Die, Goldfinger, and
Live and Let Die
Man with a
Golden
Golden Gun. I liked Live and Let Die.
I did too, but man,
was
was it
racist as
hell. Yes.
But it was enjoyable. I was like, oh yeah, they moved that to that movie, and yeah. Because there's a lot of License to Kill in there.
Oh yeah,
actually.
Which is great for me because I love License to Kill.
As do I.
Probably like such an underrated Bond film.
I like both of the Dalton films.
Oh, so do I. I think they're just painfully underrated in the annals of Bond films, and partially because they get more of the Ian Fleming character than we'd seen since Connery. And since they are adaptations, very loose adaptations, but since they are adaptations of Ian Fleming's work, you can't just sit there and ignore that character. Thankfully, they deleted the stuff from Fleming's character that's not as good, like the insane sexism and racism.
The Connery ones had some of the sexism.
Oh, absolutely, and so did
he smacked up women big time.
Yeah, and Roger Moore just fucked them all.
Well, no, they tried to make Roger Moore do the Connery thing with slapping women and threatening them, like in Man with a Golden Gun.
Golden Gun, yes.
But he was like, "This isn't my. This doesn't look right with me."
Yeah, this is not my game. I like how he said it. He said that he would that his Bond would bed a woman, not beat them.
This kind of thing is not my bag,
baby. By Austin Powers. All right, so we are doing book reviews on the Expanded Universe show. If you're unfamiliar with our format and what we do here, we are going to review some more Bond novels someday, or at least I will, because I do dig some Ian Fleming violence and traveloguing, because that's really what Ian Fleming's books are. And but tonight we're going to be doing quite a broad spectrum of stuff. But before we get into it, what is everybody reading right now?
I'm reading 3 things. Yeah. I mean, I always have a comic book to read, and as I'm going to be doing the first half of this comic series tonight. I'm still going through the second half of the Dark Tower comics. So I'm reading the Little Sisters of Illyria adaptation right now.
Nice. I have that in a collection, actually. Legends, I think is what it's called.
Yeah.
I have that. I need
yeah,
to
I have it in a Stephen King short story collection.
Nice.
Everything's eventual. Let's see. I'm listening to the audiobook of a Wizard on Mars, which is the next to most recent of the Young Wizard books by Diane Duane. And I'm physically reading Peter Straub's novella collection, Houses Without Doors. I've gotten through the short stories. Now I'm up to the two or three novellas, and yeah, those will take some time.
All right. How about you, Brandon?
I am not working on that much.
I'm similarly working on too much, but we'll get to that.
No. After a little bit, if I don't continuously read something, I just drop it. But right now, I'm reading Metro 2033. It was yes, Russian post-apocalyptic sci-fi that influenced the games. Games were not first; the book was first.
Okay, I was wondering about that.
Yes, it was a very, very popular Russian science fiction novel, and much like Russian, thing, they love letters. I cannot pronounce the names of the cities. The individuals' names are very simple. They like Andre and Anton and stuff like that. Their individual names are so simple in Russia, but when they start to go name cities, and in this case bits and pieces of the metro, it's like the average character length is 13.
Are you exaggerating, or did you count?
No, this is dead serious. After a while, I started noticing, I was like, let me count this. And the average name of these cities was at least 10 to 13 characters long. And I'm like, I can't pronounce these. So you're going to be Metro A, Metro B. And I'm just going to keep going down the alphabet because I have to have some way to, attach some type of location marker with a name. Otherwise, I'm going to be very lost. Because I'm obviously I suck at pronunciation, and when you get that far, I'm like, no, I'm not going to try. That may be very American to me, but I'd rather do what I can to make the novel readable for me than sound like an asshole trying to pronounce these names very horribly.
Fair enough. For the sake of discussion.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't gotten very far, like 20, maybe 30 pages. It seems like it's going to be a little bit of a slow read, but
that sounds like my experience with Russian science fiction. But my experience with Russian science fiction is exclusive to Andrei Tarkovsky films.
I have read most of that series.
Which one? The one that Stalker's based on?
Mm-hmm.
So you read Roadside Picnic?
No. I'm getting my people mixed up.
Yeah.
I know. I've read the. I think this was more fantasy. The one that the
Night Watch.
Yeah, Night Watch.
Sergei something.
Name
that
too long to pronounce.
Yeah, yes. His name's very long.
Again. But I've read most of that one. I plan to read the stuff Stalker's based on. That's definitely a must read eventually.
Our buddy Sean's
Ovitch.
Yeah. Our buddy Sean's a big fan of Roadside Picnic, so that's why I was wondering if you'd read it.
No, that was definitely on the list to eventually read.
Very nice. As for me, I am sadly, I know, don't judge me too much, I'm still working on Wise Man's Fear. I'm getting there. I've only got like 160 pages left. So,
Oh, well, that's much. I mean, it's not like you have like 300-400 pages left.
this is true, but it still feels like an eternity because of how long it's taken me to read so far. Other than that, I finished the book I'm going to be reading tonight, which I'm going to segue right into reviewing that, because this book... Alright, so the book I'm going to be reviewing is The Death of Bunny Monroe. It's by Nick Cave of Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. So
I thought you were going to say it was by Nick Cage.
no, I don't think Nick Cave wrote a book. If he did write a book, I would read it. No joke. I'd have no problems doing that, because how could you not want to read that? So, for those who don't know, Nick has always, been known for writing fairly grim stuff, to say the least. And his a lot of his songs are referred to as what he calls murder ballads. Songs about people dying in particularly horrific ways. Very folk-oriented blues kind of stuff, especially on the early stuff. So, and a lot of his interest in terms of the stories he tells in his songs are very Old Testament, good versus evil, and in the world that he describes his songs taking place, the devil is very much real. God and the devil are very much real, and those aspects are very much a part of the songs that he writes. And I say this because in the background of The Death of Bunny Monroe, a man is going through England dressed up as the devil, complete with horns, his body's painted blue, and he kills people with a garden fork. This is a background detail that becomes very important later on. How spoilery should I go with this review, guys?
I don't know.
Because this book's going to be very hard to describe if I can't talk about the whole thing.
Use your own judgment.
I'm going to go full tilt on the spoilers and say take the ride anyway. Even though you know how this ends, so to speak, in the end. Because this book will be very hard to describe and discuss in full otherwise. So, the novel, the book of The Death of Bunny Monroe, is about the eponymous Bunny Monroe, who is a beauty product salesman. And the opening of the book has him talking to his wife on the phone. She is terrified and heartbroken because Bunny will not come home from his latest sales trip. And she's really upset. She's really afraid that this strange man in a devil costume is going to come and kill her. And all these horrible things are going to come to pass because he's not there to protect her. So he says, oh, it's me, okay. And then he hangs up on her, and you find out that he's been with a hooker this night. And the hooker leaves after fucking him again. And before he even goes home the next day, he has sex with a waitress in the dining room of the hotel that he's staying in. So what you can already tell about this book is that Bunny Monroe, the protagonist of this novel, is a complete pile of dog shit. This man is one of the worst people I've ever read as the main character of a book. It's not even funny, the fact that he's such a shitty person. He just is terrible. So he finally makes it home that day, and I'm not exaggerating at all when I say the entire third chapter of this book is him gawking at the girls that live in the neighborhood where his wife and 8-year-old son live, or 9-year-old son, excuse me, and basically describing them in the most lewd, sexual way possible. And then he gets home and finds out that his wife has strangled herself with one of his she strangled herself. I don't remember what she strangled herself with. Wearing the lingerie that she wore the night they got married. She's destroyed all of his clothes. Their house is a wreck. And yes, their 9-year-old son is home, not able to get to his mom during what had happened. So, after the funeral and whatnot passes. He takes his son out on the road to try and peddle his cheap, shitty beauty products to the most desperate women he can possibly find. Now, that's the basic parts of the book. That is the skeleton of what happens in this novel. You have Bunny going on the road, and it's a very brief road story about a father and son that have no fucking relationship whatsoever. And how they kind of... how they completely do not cope with being around one another at all. That's the only way to really describe their relationship. They don't have anything in common. Bunny's not a good father because he's reeling from his wife's death, and he's never actually, had anything to do with his son because he stayed on the road and, kind of ignored his wife despite the fact that he considers her depression over the fact that he is a terrible husband to be a mental illness. Now, what you're probably thinking at this stage is this is a fairly, standard work of literature, wouldn't you say? It's kind of depressing. It's got, morally gray characters and things like that. That sounds like regular literature, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now we're going to get to what makes this book completely fucking bonkers. So, the night that his wife dies, Libby, that's her name. The night that Libby dies, he thinks that she's still in the house. He can kind of feel this strange presence of his deceased wife kind of lingering in the house. And Bunny Jr., well, he actually talks to his mom as he's in bed. And this is only the first of what is numerous, very strange and uncomfortable kind of supernatural aspects to the story that culminate in the third act with Bunny having a nice long chat with his mom while his dad is having sex with a girl that looks way too much like Avril Lavigne, and she's like completely coked out, and like he's basically raping her. Let's just say it. He's basically raping her. And then her pimp basically comes home. His name is Mushroom Dave, by the way, and yeah, he's a drug dealer. And that entire sequence was just, oh my god, wow, not okay. There's so much of this book that's just not okay. Like you're watching something that you shouldn't see. Any of the scenes where Bunny and his son are like whenever he's trying to explain his business as a beauty product salesman to his son, it's like, I should not be watching this. I should not be seeing this man like masturbating in this like disheveled house where a drug dealer lives with his coked out girlfriend. And then to just make it even more insane. So obviously the book is called The Death of Bunny Monroe. So Bunny's gonna die. You know that from reading the book at the very beginning. It's obvious that is the end point that this novel is leading up to. When he does die, that's when shit got even more bonkers, and I knew, and in a way I was waiting for the two plot points to happen. So you remember me telling you about the man in the devil costume throughout the book?
Mm-hmm.
So whenever the devil man is finally caught by the police, because he gets caught by the police, Bunny overhears these two girls talking about the news story, and basically the horns are real. His skin is actually red. It's the devil. The devil is a real, tangible person in this very real setting that this book takes place in. Because this book is our world, it is a tangible version of reality as we know it. But the fucking devil is real and walking around Brighton. And so when Bunny finally dies, a concrete truck hits his side of their car, and it throws him from the car. And then he gets struck by fucking lightning. The first thing that happens is that he's barely able to see. His eyes are sewn shut. And the devil is like, I can't believe they gave me 25 to life. Talking about, being arrested by the police for what he did all around England. And then he fucks Bunny. You get all of this far too descriptive language about the devil's long, thin, scalding hot dick fucking him to death. And then you get the scene where they're at a old-fashioned holiday camp in England so that he can apologize to all the women he had sex with. And then he dies. That's the third act of this fucking insane book, kind of wrapped up short. And it's so unreal, but you don't know that it isn't metaphorical death or not, because I'll be damned if it didn't kind of seem realistic within the context of the book. But it was not real at all, and it slowly kind of dissolved into him lying on the street dying, and his son being perfectly okay with the fact that, yes, over the course of 5 days, both of his parents died. It is every bit as bleak as any of Nick's songs are, but I'll be honest when I say that it works so damn well. But there's so much that I'm leaving out of the overall flow of this book, and how it's constructed, and the other people that Bunny works with that are all just as skeezy and shitty as he is. Because Bunny basically works with a bunch of fucking perverts, and he's just one of them, and it's just part of that job, I guess. But it never feels right. Nothing these people say ever feels like something real human beings should say. But there's enough, it's believable enough that there are people as disgusting as this in the world. And this book just makes them all the more real and relatable. And what's bizarre, though, is that all of this, all of the things I said, would either of you say that Bunny Monroe is a decent person? Fuck no. He is a disgusting human being. Yet his son still loves him. And between them there are a lot of scenes of actual humanity, and it's mostly from the fact that his son is just so damned innocent that it never really dawns on him. I mean, he even has a realization, yeah, my dad's a piece of shit, but he's my dad. Hey, look, isn't it funny that he's running out of this house with his pants around his knees being chased by a man with a 9-iron? So it's very hard for me to say that this book is the book never makes Bunny out to be the villain any more than he actually is. It never vilifies him more than it has to, but it shows just how damaged he is from all of the things going on. But ultimately what really made this story excellent to me, beyond the language, because the language is there, and it's not insane postmodernist difficult language either. It's pretty approachable fiction for literature, and because we don't really discuss much in the way of literature on this show, and so let me make it clear that this is a very approachable book in that regard. But I would not. I've got to say that a lot of what people should know going into this is that if you are in any way a prude, do not read this book. There's a running, like I said before, with him, having sex with the girl who looks way too much like Avril Lavigne. Yeah, there's actually an apology in the afterword to this book to Avril Lavigne and Kylie Minogue for how much he sexualizes them in this book, because Bunny basically fantasizes about their vaginas anytime that he's lonely or whatever, or without a woman at that particular time. Get used to just how much of that is in the book, like going in, because it's not the entire book, but there's a fucking lot of it, and it's so like I said, it's not for prudes at all. But yes, I give this book a recommendation with a few caveats. It's not
for everyone.
No, it's not a pleasant book either. I mean, if you are a fan of Nick's songwriting, and you kind of get that very Old Testament, like, level of morality play going on, and you can dig that, oh man, go for it. Like, buy this book now while you listen to the podcast. And again, if you just like how he writes songs, you're kind of a shoo-in there anyway, because he writes his books in a very similar tonality, where in this realm the good and evil exist, and the evil are punished, and Bunny gets the punishment he deserves, and he has to apologize for it before he does finally die. And by apologize for it, I do mean that he takes it in the ass from the devil himself. And he actually has to apologize.
How very this is the end.
No joke, right? So yeah, cool. It's a great book, but man, because I wanted to talk about it last week, because when I was reading it, I was like, I think I've got an idea what this book is, and then it started really like throwing curveballs with the supernatural stuff, and I was like, I cannot possibly make any assumptions about how this book ends. And I'll tell you, I did not see the holiday camp thing coming up at the ending, and that turned out to be very not predictable at all scene. But yeah, excellent book. And also, if I haven't mentioned it before, go listen to some Nick Cave music. His music's excellent. And he's done some excellent scores as well, from what I understand. I haven't heard any of his soundtracks other than the one he did for The Road, which was a film by John Hillcoat. John Hillcoat being the director of the film he wrote. He wrote the screenplay for a film called The Proposition, which I have not seen. So, prolific author as well. Prolific writer in general. So yes, I think it's somebody else's turn now.
You go ahead, Brandon.
Okay. No, I'm just joking. I read a book by an author named Jim Hines. It's called, I say, The Libromancer.
I think it's
how would you pronounce?
I think based on how you spelled it to me, it's Libromancer.
Okay. I discovered this book just browsing Goodreads. I think I've seen the cover before, and I just happened to click on it again, and as you scroll down, there's this big old write-up by Patrick Roth. So I was like, oh, he's very selective about what he actually writes reviews for. He'll review a book, but only books that he truly enjoys will he actually write a review for. So I was like, I'll check it out. Of course, this is in the urban fantasy style of things, and in this world there are several different forms of magic, and one of them involves books in a very literal sense. Normally you hear about wizards, they use a book, they read a book, and they cast a spell. In this, they reach inside a book and pull something out.
Oh my god, it's the Page Master for adults.
Sorta, yeah. Say, like, for example, you're reading Old Man's War, and the character decides, oh god, I'm unarmed, and there's a bunch of people trying to kill me. I reach inside the book, steal John's gun, and I use it against whoever is fighting me. Or, say, I have a copy of the first and Future King. Once a Future King, I reach in and I pull out Excalibur. You know, basically whatever book you have, as long as it can fit through the book, you can do it. You know, there are a few exceptions in this world because they have thought of, you know, things like, well, what if a person decided they were going to go into a post-apocalyptic world that was devastated by a virus and pull out the virus into our world? Well, the people who grandfathered this magic thought about these certain type of things, and they have locked those books to everyone. No one can actually get into them. They can read them, but you can't reach in and actually pull anything out to protect, you know, real life. So, because some dumbass would actually do it, because humans, why not?
Humans is a very good reason to keep things safe from a lot of things.
So, because of what you can do, what certain people can do, you have a lot of different variety of beings in this world. Some because they were pulled from these books, or the one that you get most is vampires. Basically, every form of vampire exists in this world because some dumbass has reached inside a book and gotten bitten because they're dumbass. And by doing that, they bring in the new variation of the, you know, vampire virus. So I think I remember reading at the point this book takes place, there's like 32 different vampires in this world. The ones that you find most of the time at this point are fucking Stephanie Meyer vampires.
Oh my god, are you serious?
They call them sparklers.
Oh my god.
But they're not. A lot of these things they're not taken seriously. Like, they're like, yeah, you have all these beings, but you know, against us, I mean, we can literally reach inside a book and pull out like full out technical gear with a, you know, minigun and mow them all down. I mean, they treat them like they're nothing because they are nothing. Especially the sparklers, as they call them. Like I said, they are treated as next to nothing because they are nothing. They fucking sparkle. You can see them a mile away. But this book centers around a guy named Isaac, who is a libromancer who used to be a field agent, but because of his recklessness with his abilities, they decided that he can't do it anymore because of certain dangers. Like if you use your abilities too much, this thing happens where they saw you become possessed by the personalities that within the book. Say, like with Sherlock Holmes, you could be possessed by the, you know, not Sherlock, but the other guy,
Moriarty.
Yeah, you could become Moriarty, and all of a sudden you're this fucking genius psychopath with the ability to fuck around with books. And so that's shit they don't want.
That would be a problem.
Yeah. So, people who abuse their abilities are not allowed to actually practice for safety reasons. And, you know, of course, he is a main character of a book, so he's the typical main character, and he goes above and beyond what he should do in order to, you know, help protect or whatever. You know, good noble quality, but in this world it can be dangerous. So, of course, it follows the standard tropes of urban fantasy. There is an investigation of some kind because the creator of this form of magic has disappeared, and certain breeds of vampire are disappearing, and those vampires are, in return, retaliating and killing random people because they think they're being attacked. So he, through a course of events, has to end up, you know, searching out what's going on and why. It was an interesting read. I don't know if I'll rate it as highly as Patrick Rothfuss, who gave it a 5-star review, which is why I picked it up. I was like, damn, 5 stars. I was entertained. I would not sit here and say, you know, I would put this on the pedestal of Dresden or some of the other higher breeds of urban fantasy that I've read. But it was fairly entertaining, and I enjoyed the fact that while the magic revolved around books, they did not go out of their way to constantly reference real books outside of referencing, like, you know, the Lord of the Rings or H.G. Wells sometimes.
Classics rather than contemporary stuff.
Yeah, and even then, the classics was very rare. Most of the time, they made up their own books and histories for books and stuff like that. So it doesn't try to play off nostalgia,
right?
Thankfully, because I was a little worried about that when I was first started reading. I was like, uh-oh. Like, I hope you don't constantly reference real life books all the time and pull, you know, say, hey, you remember the One Ring? We're going to talk about the One Ring. Which, I mean, they do, but of course, Lord of the Rings is also one of those books that are locked because we don't want the fucking Great Eye to be coming out onto our world.
Why not? Come on.
Yeah. This book, of course, you know, like all urban fantasy, well, not all, but this one does have a romance subplot. But this one's a little weird. You know, when usually there is a love triangle, it's between two men and a woman. Mm-hmm. This time around, maybe because the guy's a little, I don't know, I guess he's a pervert. He decided to be a woman, a man, and a woman. With the man and woman competing for the other woman. Thankfully, he didn't go down the angsty. Like you said earlier, this is an adult version of this bullshit, so there's not any angst really. It's treated maturely, right, which is my only way that I will tolerate that type of bullshit. But yeah, in the end, it really didn't pop up all that much. It was mostly about what was going on, and in the end, it's not really a love triangle. It's like a 1.5 sum. They all agree to share, but the man and the other woman, the lesbian, agreed that we're not sharing one another. I don't know what you would actually call that. It's just a weird love thing. So I was like, okay, that's stupid, but that's whatever. That's just because that's not my bread and butter when it comes to how I feel about how romance should be, but whatever. But other than that, I enjoyed the book. I thought it was interesting what the magic he came up with, and if he gets creative enough in the other books, the magic could be quite interesting if he actually expands upon it. So yes.
Nice. I might check this one out. That sounds actually pretty good.
It is fun. I will say it is a very fun book with all the little things that he does do and what he can do, and what they do explore with the bounds of the rules that he set in place for the magic. Like, right, they say that you really can't do certain things, like pulling a whole person out, but they do things to get around that. I don't know. It's weird. It's very, like I said, it's very interesting what they do with the magic in the book itself. So yeah, definitely read it. It's not very long. As the hardback version is only 308 pages.
Wow.
So yeah, so you know the rest, the other versions are obviously much shorter.
Right.
So yeah, there you go.
I like shorter because, as you can tell, it takes me a bit to read longer things.
That's why I've if you look at my read books this year, most of it's urban fantasy, for the simple fact that on average they're less than 400 pages. Most of the time they're like 350 and below.
Wow.
And that's because I've read some longer fantasy this year. Like I did read a Wheel of Time book. I read the first book I read Dragonbone Chair. I've read some decent length fantasy, but it's been very rare because I just don't feel like sitting here for 2 or more weeks trying to get through a book.
Well, I mean,
that's spending most of my time.
I started
reading
The Wise Man's Fear an embarrassingly long amount of time ago.
Yeah, and so I want to do other things, and I want to read other books, and the longer I spend on just one book means it will take me that much longer to get to another.
I should also point out right now that I think that Wise Man's Fear is very good, but yeah, it was nice to read a 280-page book that was not in any way similar to that in the middle of reading it, because it was a good break. But that's usually when I take a break from a long book, it is something completely different.
Very Monty Python.
Yeah. Which is why I picked up Metro 2033, and the fact that I wanted to read something sci-fi. I don't quite know how sci-fi this will be outside the dystopian thing, but it'll be. I can't wait to read and see, because I played the game, so I'll compare what they did.
Very nice. Libromancer, Jim Hines.
Yeah.
Gonna be picking
Which
that up.
Pat said that pretty much anything the guy writes is great. And if you look at a picture of him on Goodreads, the man looks like he came out of the 70s. He's wearing a very colorful hat and a very colorful picture. Got a big old beard.
A big bushy beard.
A great bushy beard.
Okay. God, I haven't watched that movie in a while.
Yeah, right. So, Trent.
Okay. Well, I'm going to do something a little weird first, and talk a little bit about a book I'm not reviewing. I almost reviewed this book this week, but I decided not to because I don't have enough to say about it. But I read Blood Meridian, which is a Cormac McCarthy book, considered one of the best American novels ever written by a lot of highfalutin critics out there.
We're all about the highfalutin here on the show this week.
Highfalutin.
We've discussed 2 works of actual literature this time out.
Yeah.
That's not common for us. Our listener base is going to be very shocked.
Well, there is a lot of violence in Blood Meridian. It is probably one of the most nihilistic and, I guess, gross without being too detailed in what it's explaining. I mean, it's the story is this the person it follows. You never know their name. It's just the boy.
Hey, boy.
The boy.
Oh,
Brandon,
the boy.
do not go there. I heard where you were going with that, Mr. T.
Oh, Lord.
Who he basically runs away from home in Kentucky and goes to the American West. This is set in the 1800s.
Kentucky.
Huh?
Kentucky.
Of course you'd run away as Kentucky.
Yeah. but
we apologize to any of our Kentucky listeners.
but he runs away to like Texas and
boy, that's a bad mistake right now.
That was a decision right there.
And he gets in cahoots with this military guy who wants him to come to Mexico and kill some Mexicans, and
okay.
And once they get there, they actually are employed by some Mexicans to kill Indians. Yes, this is a. There's a lot of racism in this book, but it's not the author's racism; it's the character's racism.
And there is a difference, people.
Yeah. Now, Cormac McCarthy is pretty hard to read for some people. He doesn't use quotation marks when a character's talking, so it can get confusing very fast.
Isn't that just like a feature of postmodernism?
No, not specifically. It all depends on the style that the author themselves brings
or
into it.
laziness.
I think it's laziness.
That's what I thought. It's like when I first heard about postmodernism and I started reading about it, it's like, yes, it has a feature of a lack of punctuation. I was like, are you sure they're just not fucking lazy?
Well,
I can say that it's not just all postmodernism because Pynchon uses punctuation, but of course he has to break up all those damn descriptions that he puts in the page, and he puts a lot in there.
Cormac McCarthy says he doesn't use it because he finds it unnecessary.
Unnecessary.
In other words, he really hated his English teacher whenever he was in middle school.
It's sort of like semicolons, where people don't really use them anymore. And a lot of our authors are against using semicolons.
Yeah, there are so many like style guideline changes that are taking place in fiction right now. It's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, and this has been going on. The semicolon thing has been going on since the '60s, because Kurt Vonnegut hated semicolons, hated them. But John Irving, who was taught by Kurt Vonnegut, loved using them, and so Kurt Vonnegut would get kind of annoyed whenever he read one of John Irving's novels. But yeah, anyway, Blood Meridian is... I chose not to review it because it's kind of hard to review. Because there's really no story. It's... They go here and do this. They go here and do this. They go here and do this. It's like trying to read an RPG.
But now, has it ever been adapted into an RPG?
No.
It's probably a good thing.
And it's one of the few Cormac McCarthy books that has not been turned into a movie. I mean, there's a lot of child killing in the book. Yeah, this Gang of Marauders, which is based on a real gang of marauders from that time period. I forget what they're called. They were originally supposed to kill certain people to get money. They were they were headhunters. They were like, we can get more money, and since we're only bringing the scalps back, the people that are paying us won't really know who the scalps are from.
That's messed up.
Yeah. So they just start killing everyone they come across. And there's talks of like, testicles being cut off and all that sort of stuff, but it's not detailed. It's just said as a matter of fact.
So it's not like the book I just read.
No, it's not. And it's a pretty short book. It's only like 300 pages.
His books are not long.
Except for one called Sutri, which is very different from his other books, and that one's like 600 pages.
Jesus.
But yeah, I have to say again, Cormac McCarthy is not for everyone.
No. I mean, I've only read one book of his, and that was The Road. Which,
yeah.
It's really funny. Like, I really like The Road, and everybody who I speak to who really likes Cormac McCarthy's like, that's his worst book.
Yeah. Well, it's because it's his most popular work,
I mean, fair enough if you liked him before he was popular or whatever, but it's still I still like the book.
Yeah.
Don't fault me for liking a damn book by a good author.
Yeah. I would sort of recommend Blood Meridian because I can definitely see how it's a classic. And it was an experience. Okay, on to my real review. I'm gonna do something a little different today and review a series of comics, or half a series of comics, rather. So, the Dark Tower comics, and obviously these are based on Stephen King's world of Eld.
Unlike the movie Dark Tower, which is not based off of the world of Eld.
Yeah, and it's not based on the 1981 electronic board game by Milton Bradley either.
Tisk tisk.
I'm surprised there hasn't been a Dark Tower video game.
I'm surprised there hasn't been like one of those ridiculous Euro. Get the hell out of that. That's any book, really, that's got an interesting world, but unfortunately they don't turn those into JRPGs. They turn them into half-ass action games.
They like to be original with their JRPGs. Well, original in that they're telling the same story over and over again, but, you know. Anyway, this series started back in 2007, I think, with one called The Gunslinger Born, and instead of just telling the story of the books straight on through, basically what this comic series did was fill in the gaps in the books. Now, I think the first one, if I remember correctly, is based on Roland's childhood. You've read that one, but it was a long time ago. Do you remember?
Oh yeah, it was. I think that one takes place between Wizard and Glass and Gunslinger in a way.
Okay, yeah, I think most of the original series does, and I have to say it was pretty hit or miss, that original series.
Yeah, I didn't start enjoying it until the second run came out.
Yeah, obviously you kind of have to have read Wizard and Glass before you read that. I mean, it fills in the major plot points, but if you do that, you're kind of messing up the enjoyment you would get from reading Wizard and Glass, if you get any enjoyment from it at all.
I can think of some people who were not particularly thrilled by Wizard and Glass. So.
Yeah, me being one of them.
You know, like Joe detested that novel, and it took her like 3 months to finally finish it.
Jeez.
Well, it is, out of the series, the most different.
I mean, it's polarizing as hell. I mean, and I understand why. I loved it. I thought it was kind of great in its way.
I enjoyed it. I never felt there was anything wrong.
I mean,
the pacing is
a book-long flashback.
Yeah, the pacing is abysmal.
Yeah.
Like, no matter how you...
Okay, they're stuck in this town for 500-something pages, counting cattle. I mean, that's what they're there to do. I mean, there's other stuff going on. And the whole romance story just did nothing for me at all.
You see, that was Joe's problem. She's like, oh my god, I just wish they'd fuck already.
Yeah, that doesn't happen till the last fourth of the book.
Yeah, she was pretty irritated by the fact that clearly these two people are going to have sex and it's going to ruin everything, and then it just takes the entire goddamn book to finally happen.
And of course our main character ignores it while his friends know it's going to happen.
Yep.
that he's ruining everything. And hey, it does ruin everything. It's very Romeo and Juliet in that way, which
yes,
I think
indeed.
is what he was going for. But yeah, the comic series is odd. A lot of it follows Shimi, who is a Asperger-ish character from the from Wizard & Glass. Again, not a character that really did anything for me. But I think that the original run, which was 5 different stories, I think: Gunslinger Born, Long Road Home, Treachery, Fall of Gilead, and Battle of Jericho Hill, those got better as it went along.
Right.
By the time you're getting to the Battle of Jericho Hill, what was written about that in the actual book series, I think didn't come up until book 5 or 7. Most of the explanation of it. It's been a long time since I read the last 3 books of the Dark Tower series. I've read the first 4 since then, but no. Now after that, they immediately started on another series, which they just called the Gunslinger. They called it that because, hey, after the first 2, I guess you would call trades, they started following the Gunslinger book. Now I've only read one of those so far, because I just finished The Journey Begins, and I'm on the Little Sisters of Valyria right now. Those are set before the Gunslinger book starts. Journey Begins is completely new. I mean, I don't think anything that Stephen King had written was in that. I mean, there could have been, and I've just forgotten. But it has Roland having his own Billy Bumbler, and it's set like I think 12 years after the Battle of Jericho Hill, so it's before he meets up with Jake and Eddie and Susanna. But you know, I think it's before the Little Sisters of Valyria as well. The timeline's kind of confusing because they jump back and forth. I'm kind of not excited about reading the rest of this because it's just the Gunslinger. It's like, oh, I'm reading the first book again, but in a format that's not as interesting. I get pictures this time. Yay! Although if you
more
read
than like 5, yeah.
Yeah. Not just color plates this time.
Right. Which those are beautiful in the hardcover.
Yeah, and the ones for the first book are done by George Whelan, I think.
I think you're right.
Or Michael Whelan, or whatever his name is, who did the cover for the Dragonbone Chair and most of Tad Williams' books, actually. And some, heavy metal albums. Now, after that, after they finished that one, they went to do the Drawing of the Three, which they just recently completed, like, earlier this year.
I was not aware they'd gotten that far. I need to catch up on this just so I can see a comic book version of that.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to reading that one.
I want to see the big crab looking creatures.
Did a check.
Yeah, exactly.
The Lobstrosities. Yeah,
yes.
That's what. I just want to know if they're gonna do the Wastelands, because that's my favorite Dark Tower book.
Well, they've done everything else, so why not?
I guess I don't know how they've sold.
And like comic books have to sell really well to keep going.
Well, they did have a break of like over a year between the Gunslinger and the Drawing of the Three, so they weren't originally going to do that. Or hey, they could do one of the Wind Through the Keyhole. That'd be cool too.
Yeah, because that was actually a really cool book. You know, for
that's
for
like
being...
the forgotten Dark Tower book, because no one mentions it because it's basically just a fable.
Yep, it's just like Wizard and Glass.
Yeah, but a lot shorter
and a lot more real. I like Wizard and Glass.
Well, see, the fourth one was done with the guy that a lot of people really liked reading them. He died, I think, before the fifth book came out.
Yes, he did.
That's a shame.
But I didn't really like his narration. He made mainly because of Shimi.
I don't remember his accents for the kids. All I remember is his accent for the Roland, Eddie, and Susanna, which I thought were pretty damn good.
Well, see, I've only listened to the fourth one, and what I did was both times I listened to it while trying to read the book, I read the first 100 pages of the book, so I didn't hear him do Eddie or Jake or Susanna. I just heard the flashback, and then when that was over, I went back to reading, because it was that whole these were my years as a teenager, as told by as told by Roland, that I just could not get through. But yeah, if they ever do the Wastelands, I'll read them. If they do Wizard and Glass, hey, it'll be a lot shorter.
I don't know that it would be.
Well, they've only been doing like 5 or 6 trades per story, so that's like 25 or 30 issues. So not much.
Yeah, not really.
It does make me kind of want to read the. You know, they did one of The Stand.
I've seen that as well.
That one's finished. I figured I'd read the book first though, because that's one of the few King books I have left to read. That's the one I was saving for last. So it'll be a while before I get to that one, and I'm still disappointed of what they did with the Talisman comic book, which was stop after the first trade.
Oh, yeah, I remember when the first one came out, and we because you got that at Fanboy, right?
No, I got it on vacation one time.
I thought you picked that up at Fanboy.
But yeah, it just 6 issues of it came out, and then they stopped. I was like, I didn't get to see the whole story.
He did in the book.
But that's what happens when Marvel isn't putting these out. I mean, that was Del Rey, who I didn't even know did comics.
I was about to say, I was like, I didn't know they did comics.
Me either.
Now we know why.
Yeah. But yeah, the artwork is good in these comics. That's one thing I have to give them. The artwork is very good.
I'm going to absolutely agree with you. That was one of the reasons I actually wanted to read it, was that I thought the artwork was really cool. And that was even before I got into comics again.
Yeah.
I say
now,
again, but before I ever really got into comics in any real way. Reading Star Wars comics when I'm 10 doesn't count.
Now, they originally had Jay Lee doing a lot of the art, but starting with the Gunslinger run, he left. But still, the artwork's good. I could barely notice the difference. The only difference is Roland looks different in each of these trades. I'm like, oh, it's become James Bond.
I'd have to go back and look at that because I don't remember at all.
I mean, he hasn't turned black yet.
Oh.
I had no problem with that.
Neither did I. That was not my problem with the film.
No, everything else except for that and Matthew McConaughey were my problems with the film.
You know, I find that Matthew McConaughey's performance is very divisive. He was the only.
I loved it.
He was the only person on that screen having any fucking fun.
Yeah.
And man, was he fun to watch. He had so many like silly damn lines that I just loved.
It was like they got Nicolas Cage to be in it.
Yeah, it kind of.
Now that would have been something to watch.
Oh hell yeah!
Yeah, I would have went and watched that one.
I'm sorry, we don't have chicken where I'm from.
Yeah.
But you know,
and how does he know what a chicken is?
Well, he has traveled between worlds.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, that movie condensing a 7 book or 8 book now.
Yeah.
So it actually, I mean, I thought it was just the first book.
Oh no, it's not even Brandon. It's not even close to something like that.
They legit took all 7.
No,
they
I
took
guess
parts from all 7.
This is. Let me see if I can try and make this make sense. Okay, imagine if you were the person tapped to write the adaptation of The Dark Tower, but you had to do it in a weekend, so you didn't have time to read 7 whole books. Because who really has time to read 7 whole books of fiction to write an adaptation?
And the publishers have told you it has to be a bestseller or else.
Yes.
Well,
okay, so Brandon, I want you to hold that in your head now. So you have to go to Wikipedia, and you see all these words. You see all these words, Brandon, and these words have like really brief definitions that you just grab and you stuck on a sheet of paper. And it's like, oh, okay, so there's a guy's gunslinger, and there's a kid, and he's got. He's like the kid from The Shining. So we'll even use the word Shining. Okay, let's keep going.
Shit him! Want to get sued?
Then there's this thing, and there's a tower, and 19. Okay, all right. And then you're like, okay, you know what the studio heads said? The studio heads were like, we really need to make money on this, so it's got to be like an adaptation of those young adult books. So then it also has the story arc of a young adult novel.
Yep.
Because the main character is no longer Roland. It's not about the gunslinger anymore. It's about fucking Jake.
It's Jake.
Yeah.
And Jake is a little older than he was in the first book.
Right.
He looks to be about 15.
And nobody understands him at school because he's different. It's a young adult adaptation of the gunslinger. And
he's got an non-understanding stepfather.
Yep, we even got that cliche in there.
And a mother who won't stand up to the stepfather.
Yeah,
I don't remember that in the book.
It's not. His parents loved him. Yeah.
Well, they just weren't around.
Right, yeah.
Much. He was raised by his nanny, pretty much.
But they didn't treat him like dog shit and send him off to the Man in Black Special Academy for psychics.
With people with fake skin.
Yes. God, it's just... Joe was so mad. Like, this is the kind of movie where I should have been pissed off the whole damn time. But because
we knew it was going to be horrible.
It's like, because it was such a drastic departure from any of the source material, I was like, this is so abysmally stupid that I can't help but laugh like hell at the complete misunderstanding of the source material. It's like, Trent had it right earlier, it's kind of like the Super Mario Brothers movie, where you have the names of these characters and you have the location names, but it does not in any way even closely resemble Super Mario Brothers.
Oh, if only Dennis Hopper were still alive to be in this movie.
Oh my god. Dennis Hopper's like the reason to watch the Super Mario Brothers movie because he's trying. He's trying so hard.
Which only Matthew McConaughey did in this. And
Yes.
I think it was just like, screw it. I know this movie is horrible. I'm gonna enjoy it.
Oh yeah, and he did. But you know, like the thing is, like,
Stop breathing.
yes, that's so.
That is how he kills people. He says, "Stop breathing."
Which, I mean, that's dumb. Don't get me wrong. That is some dumb shit.
is.
But at least it matches the concept of the Man in Black. That he was a seducer. He had influence over people. That makes sense. They chose a really stupid way to show that, but it's in there at least. Roland, God, you know, Idris Elba's not a bad actor. I think Idris Elba's an
They
excellent
made
actor.
him too soft.
But he's not. He wasn't Roland.
No, they made him too soft.
That's part of it, absolutely. And he just. He didn't really do anything as a
No.
character. He just kind of stood there and, like, spouted exposition. And he's supposed to be the main character, but he's not.
It had. God, you know, hearing you describe this film and reading this person's review of this film, I'm wondering if y'all saw the same film. Vox's Aja Romano wrote that the film's disjointed narrative structure favoring fast-paced action over exposition and backstory gave it a basic, wondrous glee that made it feel more like a Stephen King film than any other Stephen King film since Stand By Me.
What?
And applauded, and I'm not finished, and applauded its faithfulness to the King's fictional multiverse.
Okay,
An idea
you know what?
usually
I'll give
discarded by
it that.
adaptations.
I will give it that. It did, in fact, try to help establish what will soon be known as the Stephen King Cinematic Universe once it comes out next weekend.
Yeah.
Because there's a theme park about Pennywise that they walk through the ruins of when Jake goes to Midworld.
Yep.
And I remember, like, when that happened, I was like, oh my god, are they really going to tie this to the upcoming It movie?
Whoa. Are you telling me that this film is another victim of the Marvel curse that has plagued even the horror franchise of the reboot of The Mummy?
I think that is, in fact, what they are attempting to do, Brandon. Yeah. And I hope like hell that it never really clicks. Or if they do make this happen, that they reboot The Dark Tower and not include it in the original canon of their cinematic universe. Because early responses to it are not bad, from what I'm hearing.
Well, that's good, because at least the trailer for that one looked faithful.
Yeah, you know, I'll be honest with you. Once I saw the picture of new Pennywise, I was like, yeah, I'm not going to watch the trailer yet. I might go see the movie, but I'm not watching that trailer because clowns fucking creepy, man. And you know what?
It's got one of the kids from Stranger Things, so that's cool too.
Oh,
How
nice.
sad is it that one of the Stephen King's hoped additions or any sequel or TV show is that Roland will have a hat?
What?
Because he didn't have a hat, I guess, in the movie ever. But he says
I think he's going senile.
Who, King?
King says he suggests that it should be R-rated, and that Roland should be wearing a hat.
You know, that is one of the main things, that this was a PG-13 movie.
Oh, yeah.
Oh God.
So, like, you won't have an entire town getting massacred like in the fucking book.
Jake doesn't get almost fucked to death by a demon.
Right, there are actually no demons present.
No.
Like, none of the stuff that makes that setting so damned unusual and fascinating are there. It's an unfortunate adaptation.
It seemed almost made for TV.
It was worse than made for TV because at least the made for TV Stephen King stuff, it tries to get around the language, violence, and sexuality in its really like half-hearted way, but at least it gets the fucking plot right.
Yeah,
come close to getting the plot right.
You knew this was going to be bad when it was 5 years in development, and then they were like, "Oh yeah, it's coming out next year," and they hadn't even started filming yet.
Yep.
It was like, "Oh crap, we're about to lose the rights."
And that's probably what's going to happen is that...
Find a Fantastic Four this bitch!
Yeah.
Because that's what studios do. They're about to lose the rights. They'll... If they don't do something with the material, they'll half-ass a movie out of it. Just so they can keep the rights.
I wish they'd at least quarter-assed this movie. They didn't even get that much. This was
Yeah, that's true.
I'm serious. Another one of the things that plagued this movie in, like, behind the scenes is that 2 studios made the film. 2 studios worked on one film together. And whenever they could not decide on a tone and story, they just batted the fucking film back and forth between each other, between the 2 studios, and let a bunch of people edit it, which resulted in a fucking catastrophe of a finished film product.
There needs to be a documentary about the fuck up that this movie was.
I won't lie to you. I would love to see a director's cut.
Yeah.
I would genuinely be happy to rewatch this movie as the director intended. I know the director's not a good director. Do not get me wrong. I'm not saying that he would be able to make a better film.
The movie was incomprehensible as hell.
I mean,
if you had not read the series, you wouldn't know what the hell was going on. I read the series, and sometimes I didn't know what the hell was going on.
Oh, I followed it, but I was like, wait a minute, they're doing what with this now?
Like, okay, yeah, okay, that took place in the Wastelands, when he went into the house and to travel to Midworld. I was like, okay, yeah, that's from Wastelands, yeah.
But no Rose. No Rose.
No Rose.
Fuck you, movie. There was no Rose. The Rose.
There was a 1408.
Yeah, I did see that.
It was Portal 1408. I think.
Yeah,
or was that the Portal later on? One of them was 19, one was 1408. I'm like, really?
Retcon. That's part of the Stephen King cinematic universe now.
Are you going to have him own a dog named Cujo, too?
Look, that's in the sequel, motherfucker.
Have the song "Stand By Me" in here somewhere?
That's gonna be the name of the Billy Bumbler if they ever bring the Billy Bumbler in. It won't be Oi anymore. It'll be fucking Cujo. And then when they finally meet Stephen King, they're like, "Oh, I remember whenever I had a dog like that. You better have him put down soon."
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I hate fan service.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been acceptable if the movie hadn't been a complete disaster otherwise. But that is... It's funny.
It was an enjoyable train wreck.
I wouldn't even say that exactly, but I enjoyed laughing at how much they...
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't like The Room. Like, there's certain degrees to making a shitty movie. Whenever you're making a movie that's so bad that it's enjoyable, you don't do it on purpose. You can't. Like, those two... you just can't make those two goals line up. Because you'll end up making Sharknado. Instead, this movie was just bad. I'm laughing because I'm a fan, and I can see that somebody basically read Cliff Notes' version of The Dark Tower and tried to adapt from the Cliff Notes. They didn't adapt The Dark Tower. They adapted a fucking, series Bible.
Yeah.
And they didn't even understand the series Bible.
What I found really funny was before it came out, Stephen King was like, "Oh yeah, this is a great movie, and I hope it does well," and all that stuff. After it comes out, silence. He says nothing. He has not mentioned that movie since it came out.
Even the director of Maximum Overdrive can't say this is a good film.
Hey, I like Maximum Overdrive because it's so bad it's good.
Oh yeah, exactly. It gets it though. That movie's entertaining.
Yeah.
This is very bad.
Yeah.
Although, what really shocked me is that Sean liked it.
Really?
Yes, he said he enjoyed it. I told him that I did not share his opinion, and that I was glad that he had a good time watching it. Because I tell you what, I was literally like bent over laughing at some of the things that happened in that movie.
It was like when we watched the Left Behind movie.
Actually, no, it's not, because the Left Behind movie was frustrating. I wanted it to be stupid, but it wasn't stupid enough.
No, I mean, it had Nicolas Cage in it, and they didn't really use him.
No,
they didn't let him go all out.
He's like, here I am, I'm stirring my cup of coffee, and I'm going to flirt with this stewardess in this scene. And yeah, I'm going to be a really nice guy, because that's what they paid me money for on the Left Behind movie.
And why am I in a Left Behind movie? Because I had to sell my mansion. Yeah.
You mean his castle or whatever?
Yeah.
Speaking of, and I think we should wrap it up after this because we're derailing once I bring this up. Have you seen the documentary, The Death of Superman Lives?
No, I've wanted to, but I have not gotten around to it yet.
I got to watch it last weekend, and it is excellent. Brandon also watched it.
Did they talk about the spider?
Yes.
Yes, extensively. I'm serious.
That was finally put in Wild Wild West.
It never gets old hearing Kevin Smith talk about the giant spider.
But it did end up in Wild Wild West. The guy got it into that.
Yep. John Peters is a crazy son of a bitch.
I'm one of the few people that likes Wild Wild West, though.
I'm not gonna say shit. I love Wild West. That movie is some kind of something.
It's not a good movie.
No, it's not a good movie.
It's enjoyable, though.
Oh, it's damned entertaining, but it's really dumb, and it's got some of that like very bland late '90s trying to be funny humor, and Kevin Kline totally being the thing that I enjoy most in that movie.
Yeah. Got Kevin Kline and Kenneth Branagh in.
Yes. That
Don't
movie
you just hate that song?
God. I'm sorry. I think it's a funny movie. I don't think it's a good movie, but it's definitely better than most modern shit, I feel like sometimes.
Yeah.
I just want to point out, while looking at our live stream while we've been recording the show, we just lost one of our viewers because we said we like Wild Wild West, I think.
No, that's upside turned it all.
Well, anyway. We're
I
going to
hope you have enjoyed this conversation about the Dark Tower and bad movies.
Yes, because now those are officially tied together. You know, it's funny, Trent, whenever we first met in college, and that was one of the things, that we had in common was the fact that we both really liked the Dark Tower. And even then, whenever the first whispers of a Dark Tower movie finally coming to fruition, I remember, because we found out that the people who wrote the Da Vinci Code were working on it, we were like, oh my god, this is going to be a disaster. Here we are.
And it's worse.
Yeah.
There's
something alive in here.
I think Ron Howard might have done a better job.
Well, we get to see if
he still got his name on it as a executive producer.
Oh man, if we're coming up, we're gonna have to see what he does with a Star Wars movie. So
yeah, I was looking forward to that movie before they lost the original director.
Yeah, but at the same time, I'm glad that in a way, I'm kind of glad the original director's gone because apparently they were going for really goofy. And not in a good way. Like Donald
They were going
Glover,
to put Goofy in the movie? Damn, Disney.
Yeah, seriously, Disney's all about that tie-in now. No, apparently Donald Glover has made a few comments about the film, saying that he's so glad that that Ron Howard's working on it now because the way it was going before did not work. And he was like, this is not going to be a good movie. This is going to be a train wreck.
In the words of Will Smith, because damn.
And with that, tying this all together, we bring you to the close of this week's episode of the Z Trigger Expanded Universe. And we hope you'll come back in a couple weeks and listen to hear us discuss mostly books again on that episode, because we will not be discussing the Dark Tower film again.
Right.
Because it's done. And we hope you'll join us on the Z Trigger podcast as well this week. We've got a lot of interesting stuff to talk about. And if you're watching us on live stream, stick around. We've got another show to record. And until then, you can join us on our social media links at Facebook and Trigger. On Facebook and Twitter at Z Trigger Live. Yeah, I saved it there. Yeah, sort of. And yes, so thank you all for listening, and have a great week.
Be seeing you.
All right.
And we're clear.
All right.
Oh my god, it's midnight. Holy shit.
Yep.
Let me go get something to drink.
I suggest vodka.
Oh.
I am drinking Crystal Pepsi because they brought that back again.
Yep. I drank that earlier this week. I tried the new zero sugar Coke. I couldn't taste
horrible.
the difference.
Oh, really? Didn't
Yeah.
ever replace Coke Zero?
Yeah. I could not taste the difference between
That's
that and Coke Zero.
That's good, because I like Coke Zero. I was actually disappointed that they got rid of it.
But I'm trying to figure out. It looks like they're still selling Cherry Coke Zero.
Okay, because that's not a thing I want.
But you know, I'm like, okay, are they not switching that to Cherry Zero Sugar Coke?
It doesn't flow well.
No. But, you know, if they're changing the formula for one, shouldn't they change it for both? I wish I could read longer books.
Don't you read longer books?
I haven't really been this year. I mean, I read the new Tad Williams. I read the new Tad Williams. That's the only long book I've read.
Let's see. I can go here and count. It probably will be no more than 10, if 10. I doubt it will even be 10.
But what do you count as long?
500 and above.
Okay, I'm gonna go to my Goodreads and see if I've read any besides that one book that's 500 and above.
Oh, all right.
Because I have a lot of books that are like 600 pages and up that I want to read, but I'm just like,
oh yeah, I know that. Yeah, I have that too.
I'm like, I don't have the time. I don't have the time.
Nope, I don't either. That's why I haven't done it.
Yeah, it's kind of my thing lately, and like my work weeks, the past 2 weeks have just been so fucking insane, and then we rebuilt our damn living room, new furniture and whatnot. So
I see that your new couch is also red.
Yeah.
Does it hurt your head?
Oh my lord.
Eh?
You monster. You fucking monster. Now I have that damn song stuck in my head. Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, let's see. So far, yep, the Tad Williams one is the
5. I have read only 5 books this year that are 500 pages and more. Everything else is the next highest is 450, and everything else is in the 300 and below range.
Well, I read The Great Hunt, but that was audio only.
Let's see. You got me curious now too.
And yeah.
You know, before we get into our next show, Tomorrow's gonna be a long damn day. Going to fucking Albemarle for a wedding.
Let's see. Number of pages.
Oh, the Metro is only 461.
I've read a few over 500 pages this year, actually. Considering my small, like, total amount of books read, it's not a bad ratio.
I have read 7 over 500 pages, but one of those was 501 pages.
Counts. Fucking counts.
And like, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 of those 7 were audio only. So I listened to them. I didn't actually read them. The only 2 that I did actually read were Blood Brothers, which was a Necroscope book, and the new Tad Williams. But yeah, I've got so many books that are long as hell that I want to read, but I'm just like, it's going to take me a month to read that. Because I work all the time. And when I'm at home, there's other stuff I want to do too. Not just read all day. Or for the 2 hours I have. Like, I'm trying to play more video games, which I've played a few this week.
I've read 5 books over 500 pages this year.
Well, you're right there with me then.
And I'm on my 6th. And that will be out of 15 books. I've read a pathetically low amount of books this year.
Wow, this movie has a 0%.
What movie is this?
The Layover. It's some chick flick, but
I was about to say a movie about a layover. Yeah, I'd give that a 0 too.
But either way, I looked at it, I was like, wow, a 0%. How bad can you actually be?
That's the second movie this year I think it's got 0% because I think the Emoji movie also got a 0. Which it deserved it because if there's ever been a fucking creatively bankrupt idea, it's the Emoji movie.
Baywatch got a higher review count than that.
Damn. When you know you've fucked up.
Oh, okay. No, the Emoji movie got an 8.
Okay, that's about 8 points too high.
But actually, still, Baywatch was higher.
Heck, the Dark Tower got, what, a 12 or a 13?
I'd give it that.
Yeah?
Maybe I'll 10-flicks the Dark Tower, but that's the most it's getting from me.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you should experience the sheer fucking audacity of it.
Why couldn't they just do the first book? Why did they do what they did? I don't understand.
They wanted a PG-13 movie, and you can't do that with the first book.
No, you cannot. And
the whole Battle of Tull thing would.
It doesn't need to be PG-13. What's with the PG-13? It's fucking Stephen King.
I mean, the first book, he sticks a gun up the woman's.
Yeah.
To kill the baby. That
book really makes Roland out to be a complete monster.
Yeah.
I can see, like, even whenever they were talking about doing this, I was like, man, Gunslinger's gonna be a really hard sell because that is a bleak damn book.
Yes, but they have done many revisions and they have made him not so much of a psychopath. You know.
Yeah, that's true. They have made him more. They
have made him more humane with revisions.
Yeah. But even still, he killed everyone in Tull.
To be fair, they were possessed. He didn't have choices.
You're right. I didn't say he did it because he wanted to, but it happens, and that's going to be really hard for some movie-going audiences to find acceptable and endearing as the hero.
Honestly, those people probably wouldn't enjoy the film regardless anyway.
You're right.
Because most people are going to
think about the budget for this movie.
What, 60 million? 60 million is a lot.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
But think about if they got it right. This movie would cost a fortune to make.
But they spent almost about as much on the marketing, 60 million.
Oh, I know, it was everywhere. I remember whenever the movie was about to come out, and I went to Barnes & Noble, and they had the art book on display. Like, people were gonna buy that fucking thing for that movie. We really need to get into the other show recording, because I have a very long day ahead of me tomorrow. Whew. Let's kick this one off.
Not I.
Guess I'm doing this one too. Brandon, let me know when you're ready.
I hate doing the intros.
Brandon?
Yes.
Can I go?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Z-Trigger Podcast. My name is William Hill.
I'm Brandon Harris.
I'm the other guy.
Also known as Nobody.
Yep.
A podcast
I'm
that
trying.
has no name.
I am the man with no name. Again.
Well, yeah, watch out. Then he'll kill you in Halo quite a bit.
So
I'm
anyway,
Clint Eastwood.
who? Oh, yeah, you haven't heard of him yet.
Yeah.
How is everybody doing tonight?
It's so late that I'm making bad jokes.
It takes it being late for you to do that?
I get really stupid after midnight.
Man, I just get really stupid, period, so I can't say anything.
I did watch you play Mario 2 for like an hour.
Well,
You played Mario 2?
I did. I played Mario 2 for the live stream earlier, and then I kept dying. And losing horribly.
I tried to play Mario 2 on but I forgot where the potions that you pick up and you can go into the dark world.
Yeah.
I forgot where you're supposed to do those at to get the I forgot where all the special stuff was. Like the 1-ups. I'm like, I don't want to go online to look this up because that's cheating. But
I am to a point with Mario Brothers 2 because I'm so bad at it that I'm gonna start like save stating that game until I can get anywhere in it.
I'm just wondering how you can be bad at Super Mario 2.
Because it doesn't play like a damn Mario game.
No.
That's because it isn't a Mario game.
I know it's not, but it doesn't even play like conceivably close to one, and because I think, oh, it's Mario on the screen, I try to play it like a Mario game.
Well, don't play as Mario. Play it as one of the other
I usually
characters.
play as Peach.
I usually go with Peach and Luigi, based on the level.
Yeah.
Because Mario is just... Toad is the worst, unless you're in the desert, then he's the best. Because he digs very fast.
I'll have to remember that, actually.
Yeah, all of them have their own characteristics, which, based on the level, they could be best.
I didn't know that Toad had any use at all. Period.
Oh yeah, he digs very fast. I think Mario's supposed to be like in the middle of everything. Like middle of jumping, middle of digging, all that sort of thing. But whenever I get to the desert levels, all I can think of is Dig Dug. Because that's basically what you're playing.
in a very rudimentary, like, One Direction kind of way, yeah. And that's One Direction as in One Direction, left, right,
Not
north,
the
south.
band.
Not the band. Not the band at all. So, what has everybody else been playing? Because I've been playing the game. Well, I'll talk about what I'm playing because I asked you guys first. What are you guys playing?
I have played a little bit more of Dragon Quest IV because I'm like, I want to finish this. Especially now that I have all of the Dragon Quest games of the proper series that are available in America, thanks to getting Dragon Warrior 3 in the mail today. Yeah, you know how much that game goes for with the actual box still with it?
A lot.
Yeah.
How much?
Hundreds.
Well, then I should go sell mine.
And this is the Game Boy Color game.
Oh.
The Nintendo game's probably even more.
Oh, it is. It's worth a small fortune.
Yeah, like Dragon Warrior 1 and 2 for Game Boy Color, if you have the box with it and instruction manual, that's $300.
Woo!
Yeah, buy Dragon Quest games when they come out, and you can make a lot of money.
But don't do that. But don't do that because flipping games like that is fucking terrible.
Yeah, it is. But hey, I can't say that I wouldn't do it back then if I had had the money to buy the things. Yeah, and as I said, I tried to play Mario 2, but it was like, oh crap, I don't remember any of the. I don't remember what I'm supposed to do here. All my memories of video games from the past that I played effortlessly as a kid, I don't remember. I couldn't tell you how to beat Zelda now. I'm not even sure I could beat Mario 3.
I mean, depending on the day, I can. Depending on the day, so other days I can't beat Mario 3. Mario 3 still has some really hard levels in it.
Yeah, well, Mario 1 is the only one I haven't, of the first 3 that I haven't beaten.
Mario 1 is evil at times.
Yeah. And especially since when you're done, they're like, oh, hey, you can play this again, but with harder enemies.
Yeah, nope. I'm done. Bye. Fuck you.
At least it doesn't do what Ghosts and Goblins did.
Oh yeah, this room is an illusion, a trap devised by Satan. Go back to the first game level.
Fuck you, Capcom.
No, it's funny. Mario 1, level 8-3 has Hammer Brothers on flat ground with no platforms to jump on.
The Hammer Brothers in that game are
evil, especially these because they don't just throw one.
They made them easier in the third game.
Yes, in 8-3 they throw like 7 axes at a time.
Yes,
that game is fucking evil. I have beaten it, but damn, it's hard. I beat the Game Boy Color port first, and then I've beaten other ports since.
Now, did they change things with the Game Boy Color port to make it easier?
Not really.
Because, you know, with a lot of these re-releases, they do.
They changed a few things to help you deal with the fact that it's really zoomed in.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they do that with the Dragon Quest games, too. But the Dragon Quest games, for the last 2, they made it so you don't have random encounters with monsters anymore.
Oh, lame.
You can see them and dodge them.
Yeah, but you need to. You gotta fight them. That's... Grinding in JRPGs was created by Dragon Warrior and Dragon Quest.
Yeah.
It's time-honored tradition, man.
But the thing
feel
is,
like I was cheated out of it.
With most of the reviews of these remakes, these RPG fans are going like, yeah! This is a great change, because we don't like grinding. I'm like, then why do you play RPGs?
Well, why do you play JRPGs specifically? Because that's the game.
Yeah, I'm like, so what do you want, a point-and-click adventure game?
Why don't you go read
go
a
play
book?
Myst.
Go read a book, motherfucker.
Play Riven. Jeez.
Actually, just play Riven anyway, because Riven's really good.
I have not played that one. I need to.
I beat it, as I mentioned a few weeks ago, that I actually have beaten Riven, and I did it honest. I got a notebook, I took notes, I beat the damn game.
By the way, I asked you both a question online earlier this week.
Really?
I'm about to start playing
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
game.
You know, the funny thing is, I thought about that, and I can't say no to any of them. Actually, if you're gonna play those games, if you're choosing from those games, don't play Secret of Evermore before the others. Secret of Evermore is very good, but it's not as good as Illusion of Gaia or. It might be better than Out of This World / Another World, whatever. But they're very different games, and you're gonna get a very different kind of experience from.
Right. Yeah, because Out of This World's not even an RPG.
Yeah, it's a cinematic platformer, I think was the way.
Yeah. But if I do play Out of This World, I'm still trying to decide Genesis or Super Nintendo.
They're kind of the same, aren't they, Brandon?
There are small differences.
Yeah, there would be differences. There always is.
Well,
For one, the graphics engines are different.
The sound's going to be a lot different because the Genesis sound chip is funky.
Take off! What the hell did it say?
Hey, don't laugh. I have a Sonic statue now that says Sega, so when you hit the switch on it, because I'm a colossal nerd.
Maybe I should play Secret of Mana. I don't know.
I would say yes to that pretty much immediately because that's one of the best games on the Super Nintendo, supposedly.
Now, is that an action RPG or just a regular RPG?
It has
Action.
mechanics of an action RPG in it, but it's mostly a turn-based sort of affair.
Okay.
It's
Sort
kind
of.
a hybrid. It's a hybrid sort of thing.
I could also play Chrono Trigger.
That's what you really should do. You should just skip all that other shit and just play Chrono Trigger because you don't.
But then all the other games will be disappointing when I go to them.
That's not true. I have played other games since Chrono Trigger and still enjoyed them. Chrono Trigger is just about the best damn game on that system, barring maybe Final Fantasy VI.
Okay, I think I figured out which version of Out of This World I should play. Because you have the Genesis version. You also have a Sega CD version.
Yep, that one's actually worth quite a bit of money now.
Yeah,
I wish I could get my hands on a copy.
but I can skip that.
Yes.
Anyway,
Brandon, what about you? What you been playing this week?
A lot of Stardew Valley. Last weekend I put in 19 hours.
God damn, Brandon.
so you've stopped playing Minecraft.
Yes,
Minecraft.
I picked up a game that gives me what I wanted from Minecraft, which is you take away the building. There's not really any building. It's Harvest Moon. If Harvest Moon stayed what it was doing and just kept evolving, this is eventually what it would have turned into if you stuck with the retro style graphics.
It would become Sim Farm.
Thank
God, no. Thank God, no.
How the hell did Sid Meier never make that game, or Will Wright? How did Will Wright never make that game?
I don't know.
Sim Farm sounds like something he would have made, in all seriousness.
But yeah, it's very addicting. I'm not very good at it because I have made very little money in my endless amount of hours that I have put into it. I've yet to break the $10,000 range. Mostly because when you start out, you have to water all your plants yourself, and you have energy that you fucking get tired. Your character gets tired from doing all that bullshit work. So of course you just can't you can't just do whatever you want. You have to make sure you don't run out of energy or you'll pass out. You have a bedtime because if you don't reach that you'll pass out. So you have to structure yourself, structure your days, because there's also besides doing the farming and taking care of your animals, when you do eventually go in that route, you have your townspeople, and they'll have odd job for you. One of them from the town mayor sends you into a mine. There's several mines in this game. They're endless. They'll just keep going forever down. Like I've reached a level 105. I've seen online where people are like on mine level 406. I was like, Jesus Christ! That just keeps going, and they'll be like, I want you to go, and it's the typical MMO. Go here, destroy so many of these, and come back, and I give you a prize. Sometimes it's go and mine so much amount of this ore and come back and I'll give you a prize and you get to keep the ore. But while you're also doing that, of course, time's clicking away, so you only have so much time to do that. Of course, you also have to water your crops every day. If you're going to go and try and bed one of the females in the town, you also have to make time for that. If you want to... there's also fishing. There's there's mining, fishing, farming, combat. Is there another stat? There might be another stat, but you have to actively do all of those things to level them up. As you level them up, of course, you get various perks and boosts to your stats. And then, of course, trying to make money. Thankfully, with all, when you're in the mines or whatever, you got your pickaxe and you're mining rocks and all this other type of stuff, and you can take them back home. You can either craft things, or you can sell them. What a novelty idea, Minecraft! Selling shit you don't want. So there's always a use for something. You have to basically go mow your grass because the grass will pop up. So you need to take your scythe and go around and start whacking around grass. And eventually, at first, it serves no purpose other than just clearing out your space. But eventually, once you build a silo, you can take that grass and it will fill the silo, and you can have food for your animals. Otherwise, you have to go to town and buy food every day. Because if you don't, they get pissed off. And when they get pissed off, they don't give you your resources. But they don't die. So you ain't got to worry about that. But yeah, it's very addictive. It's mindless for the most part, which is one of the reasons why I've been able to put so much time into it. Because I can just... It's very repetitive, but it's if you like Harvest Moon, then you won't mind this repetitive because it's the exact same, just with few added things. As or be stupid to just remake Harvest Moon. But yeah, I've thoroughly enjoyed my time with Stardew Valley. I'm pretty sure I'll play some more. Though this weekend I plan to tackle a different game. Probably going to be Prey.
Nice.
I've been wanting to play that.
About Prey.
I also have another game. Prey and something else. I don't remember what that something else is.
I could not tell you.
Swear to God, I bought 2 games.
Hitman.
Yes, right. Hitman. Damn. That's probably the one that of all of the 3 recent games I've been playing that I played the least. I will say, thankfully, that they did go back to pre-absolution days for the levels, so I can have my sandbox and murder people in my sandbox, because that's what's important. And kudos for trying to have a story, but I want to be able to sneak around and do what I want to do when I'm trying to kill people. But when I have played the game, it's a real shame what happened with that game and how it got butchered, and Square's a real bastard.
Old news.
For what they did, because originally it ended up being 6 parts, but originally it was only supposed to be 3, and you can sort of tell that they had to break it up even more, and it really hurt the sales of that game. So Square has nobody to blame but themselves for that game not doing as well as it should have, because what I played is a really damn good game. So fuck you, Square. I have to find some way to say it every episode, so there you go. Fuck you, Square.
What about Enix?
Fuck them especially.
Yeah, because they're the main problem. Though I don't think there's much management left from the days of Square. I think it's mostly just from the people of the Enix that have taken over, and those who have left and brought in more people who are all just like-minded fools of the Enix crowd. That's why I truly believe you'll never really get the glory days of Square again. You'll have some good games here and there. With Tabata involved, I'm sure he'll hopefully give us another good one. But with no more involved with everything, we will be dead before we get anything in a decent time, because we will be old, and he takes forever. There you go.
There it is.
Yes, and then now for something completely different.
Like the fact that I finally started playing Mass Effect for real.
Yay!
Now, when you say for real, what were you doing before?
Pissing around.
Hey, that's the best thing to do in that game.
So, here's my story of Mass Effect. The year after it came out was, I believe, it was either 2008 or 2009 when Circuit C was closing. It would have been 2009 when Circuit C was closing that I bought Mass Effect for PC. And I played it on my computer, and I got to the first planet after you go to Citadel for the first time. And I was like, man, this is cool. This is everything I really want from a sci-fi role-playing game, because you can go all these planets, so you can do stuff on all of the planets if you want to. And I still think that's cool. So don't get me wrong. I'm not gonna, turn around and trash that particular concept here in a second. But school happened because I was in college at the time, and I had to not play as much. So it fell off, and I never finished that run. Fast forward to 2012, and the Mass Effect Trilogy box set comes out for 360 and PS3. I pre-ordered and bought it. It's like, I'm going to finally play Mass Effect. This is going to be great. And then I was like, I'm going to even use a strategy guide so that I can make sure I hit all of the quests that are in the game, so that I can maximize all those, story threads that run throughout all 3 games. Because, if you're running off of a quest list, as long as you can still play through it, because the quests themselves are not complex. It's just knowing where they all are, and so that you can go and do them. So I started, and I got to Citadel, and then we had to move back to North Carolina. So we were living with my in-laws for about 3 weeks during that time before Joe found a job, and then we moved up to Winston-Salem. The game fell off, and I started playing something else by the time it was all said and done. Because we didn't have furniture for the first month we lived in Winston-Salem either. It was a very difficult transition getting in there. So whenever I started playing a few days ago, I started playing using the exact same save file that I left off on 5 years ago.
Woo!
So thankfully, it's still really early in the game, and I can just pick up and go with whatever I want to do, or what I need to do. And I'm about to start the Novaria part of the game now. If I really put in the time, my next day off on Monday, my day off when I can actually play, which would be Monday, I'm going to be well over halfway through the game and like another day off away from finishing it. Because the thing I'm learning is that Mass Effect 1 is very short for a role-playing game like that, especially for a role-playing game with such a deep sandbox to kind of like dig around in with all the different planets you can go and explore and things like that. Because for the most part, some of the side quests are very short, and the only thing that's really holding me back in terms of difficulty is the combat, because the shooting can be a little dodgy. So I do enjoy Mass Effect. I'm interested in seeing how I feel about the ending of Mass Effect 3. I know I'm not going to be seeing the original giant fuck you version that EA had BioWare shell out, but
oh, you will.
I want to see. I know I'll be seeing the redone version. I know
the redone version
in there.
The redone version is just tacked on at the very end. There really is no. There really isn't anything different.
But
That's why most people weren't very satisfied with the redone ending either, because they didn't really do anything.
I mean, are you shocked it's Square? I mean, not Square. It's EA. It's worse than Square.
I was thinking, Square is involved. I fucking wonder.
It's not as bizarre of a set of decisions as if Square had done it. Other than that, though, I haven't really had time to play any damn thing. Although I did play a little Crazy Taxi yesterday for the first time in a while.
Crazy Taxi.
Still love that fucking game. You know, that's one of those games that I just identify the Dreamcast with. I had to rebuild my rig this week, which is another thing that kept me from actually playing games. It took me 4 hours to put to take it apart and put it back together in a new and more efficient way. That was a very long day.
Efficient.
Yes, efficiency matters. So, speaking of consoles, hello Force Transition. The original version of the Xbox One is no longer being made.
I called it.
No, it doesn't really. It's a matter of the S is their new base model Xbox One.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really surprised about that. I mean, it's not like you can get the original 3DS consoles anymore.
Nope.
Not without buying that mofo used. And I will say this: unlike the original model DS, the original model 3DS is a much more attractive piece of hardware because it's all sleek and flat and stuff. That original model DS is funky.
Yeah.
I mean, I clearly have no problem because that's what I had to begin with, was an original model DS, and I didn't upgrade until I got my 3DS. So, it was never a big issue for me. But no, there's a lot of articles that kind of go doom and gloom on this subject. It's like, oh, they canceled one of their systems, something, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, no, they didn't. They just made a new version of it, and they replaced it with the S. And that's basically like a PS4 Slim is going to be in the day they ever make that damn thing.
Wait, don't they already have a Slim?
No, they have the Pro and the base console. They don't have a Slim yet. Although, interestingly enough, I watched... Have you guys ever watched the Ben Heckendorn show on YouTube?
No.
Probably not. Well, Ben Heck does... He does...
There's a Slim.
There is the PS4?
Yeah, they redesigned the PS4 to be smaller.
I never even realized it.
There's a bundle with the Uncharted 4.
Oh, that's what I have.
Huh. Interesting.
It doesn't say Slim anywhere on it, but...
They basically that extra part where you have you have the tray that can slide off in the slick part that houses the hard drive. They basically condense that into one thing.
Huh.
But there is a Slim. You just don't see it very often because no one fucking wants it.
Well, anyway, Ben Heck does like electronics, modding, and hacking kind of stuff on his show. And something I watched him do recently, he built what he called the ultimate modern gaming console. And it was a system setup that plays both the original Xbox and 360 games as well as Xbox One. No, it was actually before this generation. So it played PS3, Xbox 360, Xbox One, and Nintendo's handheld and home game console markets.
Good lord.
Yeah. It's crazy. That's crazy to say. Oh, but I don't particularly care that they've discontinued the Xbox One because the S is out. I do think that people need to kind of like the rage machine saying that this is the end of the Xbox brand because they discontinued one of their hardware. It's like, no, they didn't. Sony did that shit during the last generation, didn't destroy them. They're going to do it this generation. It's not going to destroy them now either because that's just the way that it happens. In the game
even back in the days of Nintendo, you know, you had that redesigned Nintendo come out towards the end of its lifespan.
Yep, the NES 101 or something like that.
Yeah.
That's what I have on my current TV
and they did the same thing with Super Nintendo.
Yep. That's actually the one I bought my mom for Mother's Day one year when I was in college.
So it's nothing new. It's happened a long time ago.
Sure has.
Yeah.
You can bet on it happening with pretty much every console it comes out. Except for the N64. They never changed that one.
Nope, because it wasn't successful enough.
Yeah, and I don't think they did with GameCube either.
I don't think so.
No, and it won't get it either. Because
at this late date, no, it's not gonna get it.
Well, no, I mean, like the GameCube just wasn't successful enough for that sort of thing.
Yeah, I don't know anyone who ever owned a game.
I own a GameCube.
Me. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know anyone at the time.
There you go.
Was one of the main systems that owned it. I want to buy one nowadays. They're cheap.
What, a GameCube?
Yeah.
I have one upstairs. Like, I have two.
Oh.
Because whenever Joe and I first started dating, her friend who was living with her at the time, she had a GameCube and left it when she moved out. She flaked out and gave up on living away from her mom, and she left her GameCube behind with it's a black. So I've got that one. I swapped my Game Boy player onto that one, and I have it downstairs, and I have the regular Game Boy. I mean, not the regular Game, but the original GameCube upstairs now. So I have two GameCubes. I'm not sure if I have power supplies for both of them, but I think I do that. I have that as well. Even then, I could find one pretty cheap because, as Trent already noted, they're not that expensive now.
Yeah.
So, speaking of things coming, Nintendo, the Miiverse social networking service is also gonna be fading off into the long dark night, where MySpace is at, I guess. You guys don't have a Wii U or have much experience playing the Wii U, so I don't know that you guys had the chance of enjoying Miiverse like I did. But I thought Miiverse was not a bad concept. It was not a great concept, and the fact that I know what's blah, I just blew that sentence out. Anyway.
Yeah. It's late.
It is. It's very late for me because I've been up since 5 in the morning. No, it's a shame that it's going because I watched a lot of cool things happen on Miiverse, and I got a lot of really interesting levels for Mario Maker using Miiverse, and I posted a lot of interesting stuff to Miiverse. I got blocked from some Miiverse channels because I swore in the comments sometimes, and Nintendo still thinks that they're designed entirely for kids. Those bastard fucks. And that aspect I'll be glad to see go. But I think that it's interesting that the only way that this service is really ever going to live on now is in the form of messages in Splatoon 2. Because they've implemented something like that into Splatoon 2. And it's not anywhere else on the Switch, so that's a shame. Did either of you ever see Miiverse whenever you played anything on the Wii U?
I never even touched a Wii U.
I've seen Miiverse, but I'm not sure if I've had any like real interaction with it.
It's a pretty cool service. I thought, the thing that shocked me most about it was how much quality artwork I saw drawn onto messages. Like, I can't imagine doing art that well on the fucking Wii U gamepad. It's impressive. So anyway.
Yeah.
Alright, so I'm gonna bring this one up because I think it's one of the most unnecessary and esoteric ideas to come from a major publisher this generation. Capcom is going to be releasing Street Fighter II again for the Super Nintendo.
And just Street Fighter 2.
Yep, not even a special Street Fighter II print. Bland old Street Fighter II that you can still get complete in box for like $20.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're going to charge $100 for it.
Because, it's red.
Yes. It's a red cartridge, therefore somebody thinks it's worth $100. And you know what?
Or someone bootlegged it.
Oh, fuck. I mean, you could buy... There's no point in bootlegging it. It's one of the cheapest damn Super Nintendo games. I'm not saying that Capcom shouldn't do this. I mean, clearly it's their product and they can do it with whatever they want because they own the license and, well, fuck's sake, they already put Street Fighter 2 out already once this year. I do think it's kind of ridiculous, though, that it is $100 damn.
Yeah, that's a little much.
Reproduction carts for Super Nintendo can be as low as $25-$30. Yet they're making a brand new copy of Street Fighter 2 and charging $100 for it. I mean, and it's also limited time, so it's more of a collector's item. I don't think it's me a game.
And I think it comes with something else.
I don't know. I hope you're right.
When I read the article, I seem to remember it saying it came with something else. I forget what it was.
A foil stamped box, a premium instruction manual,
woo!
and a poster.
Woo!
Yeah, you're paying the extra $80 for a poster.
You're paying an extra.
If I was paying that,
no, you're paying an extra $95. I'm sorry, I'm going off of 1991 copy cost.
Basically, there's this craze right now of let's make everything in gaming a collector's item, and let's just take this old stuff and just re-release it, and let's make it ultra expensive. I actually meant to sort of talk about this last week, because I've now done two things with limited run games, and while I like their service, and I can also apply this to like something like Subterranean Press, while I like these services, I at the same time don't for the market they perpetuate. Because say like Limited Run Games just did the week before did a run on Ys Origins, and just like these limited Nintendo products or any limited product, they sell out within minutes, and within those same minutes it all ends up on eBay. Everyone is just trying to get a piece of this trend because they know that they can release this limited item, charge whatever the fuck they want, and it will sell. either for people who genuinely want it, or the asshole scalpers who are just going to resell it, and then people again will buy it again. What I don't under. I mean, collector's items. I feel like it's not something you shouldn't create something for the sole purpose of being collector's item. Collector's items that are genuinely good collector's items are shit that you would never think would be collector's items when they were originally released. Most of the shit back in the day, you talked about the Dragon Quest games or Dragon Warrior games from back in the day. No one knew them damn games were going to be worth as much as they are now. Who would have ever bought Dragon Warrior 3 on the regular Nintendo? It's like, gee, I better hold on to this. This is going to be worth hundreds of dollars in years to come. No one
People do that now.
Yeah, now, but not back then.
Because just about everything that's getting a physical print is worth money someday. And that's kind of crap. Because it's not like, the thing is, I'm still, pissed off and burned because here I am, it's 20 damn years after it came out, and there's still not a way to buy Panzer Dragoon Saga that's realistic.
That's because they lost the damn thing.
Well, yeah. Well, even then, I'm sorry, they could fucking reverse engineer and build that damn game back up from scratch.
Torrents.
Without a wah pedal.
Did he ever possess that?
One would hope.
Oh, but the help. It's just everything now. There's even fucking Xbox pulled this shit with that bullshit Scorpio edition. You know what? Yeah, it sold out in a few days, and you can buy half of them on eBay. It's getting a little ridiculous.
Getting? I think we've
because before it was just, it sucked, but it was just sort of localized to Nintendo, and there's some of their stuff that they would do. But now it's like everything Nintendo that's even remotely limited, like this Zelda, this special edition Zelda. Since we do not want to mass produce anything because we're a toy company, this is legit limited. So good luck, assholes. Which means you're going to get it from a scalper because you have like a 2% chance of actually getting a copy legit, from legit means. And now it's starting to spread to the rest of gaming because everyone else is seeing what Nintendo's getting, all these sales that just easy sales they're getting from this vintage product, and they're just doing it themselves because they know what's going to happen. I guarantee you this damn cartridge of Street Fighter 2 will sell probably within minutes. And it sucks. Not that I want one, but I know I know who's going to buy it. And most of it's not going to be from people who actually want to keep it.
And it's not going to be you.
And it won't be me, because I don't like Street Fighter that much.
I don't either.
Even the translucent glow-in-the-dark Blanca green cartridge isn't. No.
Gimmick.
Yeah.
Pretty obvious one too at that. But on a much less depressing note than more collecting woes as we've been dealing with for like the past month, I feel like, God, what a stupid year Nintendo's giving us in terms of products, right?
Hey, I punished them. And I'm proud of it.
Giving them more money soon, or I guess whoever publishes this game, because No More Heroes is finally getting another title, or another game, and it's entitled Travis Strikes Back. And some of the gameplay that was... Yeah. Some of the footage that's been revealed is showing him actually fighting bosses from indie games. Like, he fights a boss from... I'm trying to remember the title. Shovel Knight. You get to fight one of the bosses from Shovel Knight. And that's some of the footage that was revealed this week during Nintendo's Nindies showcase. So it looks excellent because it's classic Suda 5.1 game design. I'm very much looking forward to that one. I hope it's better than the second game, because the second game had the... So in the No More Heroes games, you have to raise money to improve your lightsaber. I wish I was kidding. You basically have a lightsaber. So you have to go out and kill people or do odd jobs. And doing odd jobs takes a lot of time in No More Heroes 2, though. So I hope they bring it down a little bit more closer to what you do in the first one. But either way, that one's one I'm looking forward to for the Switch. Brandon, you should also be looking at that one for the Switch.
I'm like missing 2 games worth of story.
Story. There's very much.
Even if the whole plot is I'm trying to screw this girl, still there's plot.
Which it was. For those who don't know, that is the plot of No More Heroes. Travis Touchdown meets this hot girl at a bar, and she says that the only way I'll sleep with you is if you become the world's greatest assassin. So he gets a laser sword off the internet and starts killing all of the other assassins in the world so that he can be ranked the best. It's insane, and the boss fights are huge and weird and funny. I loved No More Heroes 1 and 2. No More Heroes 2 actually has... I can't remember his name. It's a big burly rapper dude, and he throws his giant afro-headed hose at you. That's the first thing he does whenever you run in the room. You see these girls, and they're like flying like head over heels at you like giant bowling pins. And his like boom boxes shoot missiles. It's so absurd. I mean, and this isn't in the ending of the first one. Whenever you get a like weird Deus Ex Machina and it's your brother, that's really the final boss of the game. In the middle of the credits about to start. Such a cool game. Although it seems like there's a good chance I'll have to buy a memory card so I can install it onto my Switch.
Yeah, even if you buy the physical copy.
Yep, the new thing now is to have memory cards for certain Switch titles, and I think after a certain point in time it's going to start being all of them.
Yeah,
I think it'll just end up being the standard.
That's basically what happened with the N64 at the end of its run. It's pretty much all the games required, or to play the complete game at least. Their expansion.
Yep, the little red.
Well, see, but there's a little difference. That was like you need extra like hardware memory, like RAM to play the game. That
right.
That's understandable. This is like you need extra space to install more data, so that because the game can't all fit on the shit that they originally sent it out with. You know, this is the complaint that people had with the Switch when they first started talking about it, and the fact that it wasn't going to have true actual hardware or hard drive space in this damn thing. With the size of games nowadays, it's a little ridiculous to only give us 32 gigabytes.
Is that it? I actually do not. I don't know, because specs are not the sort of thing I look up whenever I'm buying a system. It's not a. I don't play based on numbers, you know.
Well, while that may be true, it's a necessity that you can't ignore for modern day gaming. Regardless of what Nintendo likes to showcase itself with, it's still going to have modern day games, and that will become a factor.
I will not disagree with you there. I'm just saying that that's the reason why I don't keep up with that information on a day-by-day basis. That is all I was trying to say there. I agree with you because, frankly, Capcom even said, hey, this Resident Evil 7 will run on this. That's why we're not impressed. And they tried to meet it where Resident Evil 7 could run on the system. And then what are they doing? They're giving us Resident Evil Revelations again.
Yeah, the internal space is only 32 gigabytes.
Yep. And that's tiny.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
It's the reason why I buy my games physical in the first place, and apparently to buy the SD card's kind of lame. What was that, Brandon?
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. And now it doesn't matter. You're going to have to buy extra space anyway. And here's an extra little tidbit. Nintendo has partnered with microSD. One of the, let's see, who do they partner with? SanDisk.
SanDisk.
See, yeah. Now they're going to have patent cards for your Switch. You can go and spend money on those.
I don't think they can make it too customizable because it's still only a micro SD card slot.
The way you went through that sentence made you sound like Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah, still, it's just yeah. But I just can't help that it's like you see this company that existed in your childhood, and they seem to be your best friend. Like, these were the guys you went to as a kid because you knew that they existed for you. But when you become an adult and you actually see what they're all about, it kind of ruins your childhood a little bit to see that they're really just all about making as much money in various ways possible.
And let's be honest, that is one of the lamest potential money-making solutions ever, because even if they have a licensed SD card, people are still going to buy the goddamn off-brand stuff.
Well, yeah, because they're cheap. Well, they're relatively cheap. Like a 128 gigabyte card is still, you're still talking $40.
Whoa.
At 256, it's really stupid. They range from like $250 all the way down to like $100. It really depends on what you buy. There are some higher. They go up to 2 terabytes at the moment, I think. And the Switch does support that, but I can only imagine how much that would cost. That probably at least $300-400 as an SD card. But I shouldn't have to do that. It should. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess what's the biggest?
It feels like they should have thought of this before.
Well, they did think about it, and they said they didn't care.
Of course they don't.
I think the highest mobile memory is like 128.
They just released a 400 gigabyte one, I think.
Well, no, I know what the actual SD cards go to, but like built-in memory for a phone or a tablet, I think Apple is only up to like 128. So, if you're going to at least meet the industry standard, we should have gotten at least half that,
exactly.
or at least 128. Give us something, people.
Yeah, because 32 gigabytes is kind of a giant, colossal middle finger sticking right in your face.
See, when the
right up your ass.
Before the console first came out, and people were, harassing them about their hard drive size, I would defend them. It's like, well, you mean you just buy the damn game physically? What's the problem? You just buy it and you ain't gotta worry about it. But now,
and here we are 6 months later.
You're making me look out like a fucking fool because Nintendo's like, oh yeah, by the way, some of these games are going to start doing what the other consoles do and make you download more. What the fuck? mean, I guess I shouldn't be surprised. Like I said, modern gaming. I don't know why. I guess I never really knew what the size of this proprietary hardware that they want to use because they're fucking Nintendo. I don't know what the size, what they actually hold, how big they are. But I'd at least expected them to be able to handle whatever games wanted to do. Oh well.
And now for something completely different. So this one's this one we'll end on something a little bit more positive this time. Atari has so we still not seeing what this mystery upcoming Atari console is that's coming up in some undisclosed amount of time. But that's a home console, and this one though. This is something of a Switch ripoff, but it's entirely designed to play classic Atari 2600 games. It's a handheld system. It has an SD card slot on the back, which means it's going to be hacked about a week after it comes out and used for other things. You get something that plays Atari games, well, not cartridge ones, but like flash ROMs, basically. Now, clearly the portable console type concept for the Atari's been done, and we've seen different versions of the idea, but I think this is the first one that's specifically an Atari product and is kind of trying to capitalize on other modern trends. Ever since Atari has tried to get some leverage back into the gaming industry, it's been really pathetic, and I think they realized that what they are best at is, reselling copies of Pac-Man and Adventure or whatever. So, I don't know, I kind of like the model they put together, but I do still prefer the ones that I remember Ben Heck having posted on his website way back in like 2003 or whatever, when I was reading EGM all the time, and his and things like his PSP. He made a PSP before the PSP was even conceived publicly. And his was an actual PS1 portable that had a spinning disc drive and everything. It was pretty damn glorious, if I have to say so.
But how portable can that be? I mean, like, you're going to be... I mean, you can't walk around with this thing.
With the PlayStation one?
Yeah.
Oh, it was still not very small.
I mean, even then, it was like, even if you were like, it's like, even not small, it's like, I'm going to take this and go walk around and play. Well, you can't really do that with a spinning disc. You're going to fuck your disc.
Oh,
quite horribly.
Easily. But, that wasn't designed to be like a production model either. He made it for himself. And it looked like a circular saw on the back of it. It's cool. Although, on that note, he also has made his modern way of doing that sort of thing is he makes laptops. Like he makes Xbox 360, Xbox One laptops. Check it seriously. Ben Heck, Element 14 on YouTube. Check his stuff out. It's really cool. Now, as for the Atari handheld, my only qualm with this is I don't recall what the price was listed on the news article, but it would have to be cheap for me to want to buy it, because I have an Atari. I could probably buy depending on how many games are on it, I could probably buy every game that's on it for less than $50. And I don't really play. That's not the kind of thing I'm going to want to play on the go. It's the kind of thing I'm going to want to play when I got somebody at the house. It's like, hey, you want to throw a game in the Atari and play something on the Atari or the television, something like that? Because those games are best played multiplayer. Even still today.
Xbox One. And we're going to play the motherfucking Atari.
Damn straight. I have all of the most advanced video game systems that it makes sense to own. And I'd still play my fucking Atari. Or something on the 3DO like hell, or what was the name of that terrible damn police game? Like
but you would never play something on the CDI.
I don't have a CDI. If I did, I would play my CDI.
Give it time.
I mean, it would be hard to play anything on it because it's such a piece of shit, but...
Yeah. But then you can finally... Isn't that the one with those bad Zelda games?
Sure is.
Yes. But the real joy is to get a hold of a Jaguar and get that to play.
Joy? Well, you know, the thing is, Jaguars themselves work fine. It's the Jaguar CD that's trouble.
That's what I'm talking about, the Jaguar CD.
With its, like, 15-game library.
You should totally get the Highlander game.
Are you going to help me buy this, Brandon?
I don't know. Are these things expensive?
I don't know. Let's have a look since we're wrapping up anyway. Which is good, because I'm sleepy.
Are you kidding? I have another hour's worth of content to talk about.
I don't. Come on, buddy. I know that we're doing a lot on the internets tonight. Alright, so... I typed in Highlander Jaguar and it brought up Highlander only.
That might be hard to get a hold of then.
I'm trying again. Alright, here we go. I made the mistake of trying to do two things on the computer right now with the stream and the chat going. It still doesn't bring up the video game. Let's see. Let me if I can. You're probably able to do this faster than me, Brandon. Here we go. Highlander The Last of the Clouds, $45. Buy it now, complete in box.
That's not bad.
No, it's not. But you'd also have to have a working Jaguar CD, and that's a different, challenging prospect altogether. Because it was such a faulty piece of dog shit.
Yep.
But yeah, the Atari Jaguar CD game collection could actually be bought for relatively cheap. Let's see here. I'm pulling up a list now because we brought it up. And I have a website that actually has archival library lists for every game console in every country. It's really cool. Unfortunately, my computer still hates me right now for doing all the stuff I'm doing on it. Opening PDF. It's one page. Come on. This can't be that damn difficult for you to process.
Sure it can.
You'd think it would be, considering how long it's taking. What? I don't... What are you... What? What is this? This is
What's this? What's this?
What is this?
I found it. Okay, here we go. It's more than a dozen. Although there's demos listed on this list too. That's how bad it is.
I hope it's not as Chris's blood.
$25 games for the Jaguar CD. That's it. And actually, one of those is a game that was made in the 2000s for the Jaguar CD. Some of these other ones might actually be that as well, because it really is like one of the smallest game libraries on any console. So,
minus the Action Max.
Yeah.
With its total of like 4 games.
Alright, well, we are going to wrap this thing up for this week, and we hope you will join us next week on the Z-Trigger podcast. And come and join us on our social media channels on Facebook and Twitter at Z-Trigger Live. And we will be back next week with another fun and exciting installment. We'll see you later.
Laters.
Seeing you.